Hello and welcome to the show. So, following the amazing success of the Daihatsu Midget racing, it was fantastic fun. We decided to do something a little bit different. We're going to do some midget rallying because, well, what could possibly go wrong? I think there's only one sort of rally stage. This is the shortest version of the off-road course that I could use. A problem I hadn't foreseen and didn't really notice at the time is the dust. For the replay cameras, it makes things a bit problematic as you just get a screen full of dust. I had no idea it was going to be quite like this on the replay, so I apologise for that. For a lot of the time, there's the two leaders are fine, and then just follow the nameplates. That's about it. It's really very, very bad. It's not particularly surprising. Sort of road like this, I would imagine, will kick up a fair amount of dust. If you've ever watched any sort of proper rallying on some of the stages, it can be incredibly dusty. You just cannot see a thing. One of the slight downsides, I wouldn't say it was a particularly big downside, but a slight downside to this course is the grid is actually very, very spread out. So sort of for the first few corners, you don't have the sort of mental start that you have like on the GT arena when we did this. It is a little bit calmer to start with, but it wasn't long before, well, the screen was full of dust again. Can't really see what's going on at all at the moment, but judging from the nameplates, there we go. It wasn't long at all until everybody was all side by side with everybody. Again, in fact, that's sort of 4 wide, almost, trying to go over a crest of a hill. I started towards the front. I actually wasn't doing particularly. I don't know what it was like to be right at the back of this sort of pack. For me, I was in a bit of a sort of a lonely position, sort of for a lot of this race, and maybe the dust was terrible further back and you couldn't see a thing. And not entirely sure, but yeah, the camera is now not looking at the cars either. That's really helpful replay, and more dust just everywhere. The racing is, well, as excellent as it was before, pretty much. Cars are somewhere in that. Yeah, everybody's 2 and 3 wide through corners. You really shouldn't be. This is actually quite a deceptively narrow track in places. It's a bit of an odd one here. There are places like this that is very, very wide. Some of the corners, though, it really narrows up with the fences, meaning it's a little bit of a squeeze when everybody's trying to fit all of their cars on the same bit of road. And while, yes, these are very small, where have they gone? There they are. While these are very small cars, yeah, there were still some bumping and a few incidences on here. It's really to be expected with these, though. Everybody driving equal cars is just a sort of thing that is going to happen. There's a bit of a spin further back. Yeah, when everybody's driving equal cars like these that are so underpowered, it's so hard to overtake. You may well go for gaps that are a little bit more dubious than perhaps normal. So, yeah. There was a few bumps going on. They've got some this is what it was like for on board. If you were like very close behind a car, it seems like the game doesn't bother with sort of the dust cloud. However, the cars in front, yeah, there is just a sea of nameplates and you cannot see at all what is going on. I wouldn't want to be at I guess there is sort of like an optimum place you could be where the game decides, yeah, they're going to put dust there, and that would be quite hard to drive. As you can see, it is pretty tough going on this track. I think this is sort of at the front. The race is split in half on this occasion, or almost in half, not quite. I can't remember what position it was. With there being one group at the front that were battling, a little bit of a gap back to another group that was battling. You know, in races like these, again, much like it was with the road racing with these vehicles, you cannot really escape at the front. There is very little you can do to get away because you are constantly under attack from somebody. Somebody is always trying to overtake you, so you're going to end up having to sort of drive slightly different lines to compensate for the fact that there's going to be a car alongside you for a lot of the time, and in doing that you're going to slow yourself down and the other cars will keep up with you, or you'll push your car, maybe you'll make a little error, and a little error in these when they are fairly slow it means you lose 3 or 4 positions. You can see the car that we were following had a slight tap on the wall going into one of the corners and has now lost 4 positions just from that. Momentum is really important with these. Like, you don't have to make a particularly big error to suddenly find yourself, like, if you make a big error, if you make a small error coming onto a long straight, you are in loads of trouble because these cars rely so much on momentum. I'm hoping that makes sense to you. Because they've got so little power, they can't really make up for anything. Yeah, you can end up in trouble very easily. However, you can also overtake a lot of cars very easily. It's incredibly hard to keep track of who is where in this race. You will probably overtake and be overtaken 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 times a lap, especially on this track that's quite long. You just change places constantly. It is almost impossible to keep up with who is where in this race. It's utterly ridiculous. All I know is I was in around 10th for most of the time. That's all I know. There we got dust again on the screen. No, it was doing so well. Now we just see dust again. Yeah, it's impossibly hard to keep track, but it's great fun because you are constantly in a battle. You're constantly racing with somebody, and there's always people around you to be trying to overtake, to be racing with. It didn't matter what position you were in. I was in the battle of the second group of cars. I wasn't doing particularly well at this track. I don't know, I just wasn't driving fantastically. The other great thing about this racing is if you did make a mistake, if you dropped to the back of the field, for whatever reason, if you got spun around or you're involved in a crash or whatever, it didn't take you very long to catch up to the back of the field. You might be a bit surprised by that, as these cars are pretty damn slow, so it's not so much like you can't make up huge amounts of time, like lap time wise. All of us were doing very similar lap times because there's only so much you can do with these cars. You're almost flat out everywhere, but because, as you'll see, we are all 3 or 4 wide on almost every corner, or at least 2 wide everywhere, you slow each other down, which means the car at the back that's got sort of a free track, if you like, will catch up to the pack fairly quickly, and then they'll be back in another battle. So you are constantly racing, you're constantly overtaking or trying to overtake somebody the entire time. Okay, you might not be in the battle for the lead, but it doesn't really matter. The fact that you've got somebody to race with the entire time and you're not just going around a circuit on your own is what makes this racing, in my opinion, one of the best, probably the best, most fun I've had in a race anyway for a long time. It really is just huge fun driving these cars. Yes, they're incredibly slow. I don't think they got above 60 or 70 miles, and I don't even think they might have got 60. They did not get very fast at all. I think they have like 30 horsepower or something. They are incredibly slow. The horns make more noise than the engine, you'll probably have heard. But it's great fun. It's great fun. You don't need huge amounts of power to have a great race. You just need to have lots of very evenly matched cars, and you get this. You can see that this time there was a bit of a split in the field. As I said, with the whole thing of you battling and slowing each other down, if somebody did ever get away, or in this case like a group got away from the other group, it was kind of hard to make up that ground again because you're being overtaken by cars around you. So yeah, there was a big split. I don't even know what caused it, but yeah, there was very little like that second group could do to catch up to the lead group, and this is on the final corner of the final lap. Any one of 6 cars, I think, could have won this race, or could have had a very good chance of winning this race. As we crossed the line, they were pretty much 3 wide for second place. Very hard to see in all that blooming dust, but yeah, another incredibly close finish. The top cars were covered by very little time wise. We move on to the second sort of rally race stage, whatever you want to call it. Gonna give it a go in the snow, because why not? This was a shorter circuit, this one. It's a very simplistic. I didn't realise when I picked it how simplistic this circuit was. You are pretty much flat out, in these cars anyway, for all of the corners but one. And that one corner is a very nasty hairpin, which you will see coming up fairly shortly. That caused some problems. It was, yeah, that was a bit interesting. We're running, this is the hairpin for the first time, and there is all sorts of a carnage going on further back. Plenty of cars that are running a bit wide over there, and then it's back to going 3 wide everywhere. The advantage with this being, in fact, like a sort of a more simplistic circuit, I actually lost 2 places there by slightly touching a snowbank. That's how close this racing is, and how important momentum was. Yeah, the kind of the advantage of this being a very simplistic racetrack as they're going, don't go 4 wide, that's crazy, is everybody was really close because there was so little you could do to sort of pick up speed. With there being one braking zone, that was the only place you could really make any difference, and everything else was just trying to position your car on the inside for a corner, trying to get in front of the guy in front. There was also a little bit of slipstreaming going on. I think makes a bit of a difference in these cars. Not a massive amount, but a little bit. I got a bit unfortunate. in this race. We'll see coming up to the hairpin. I got bumped and I crashed into a wall and got spun around and caused a big problem by having my Daihatsu facing the wrong way at the hairpin. Got dropped to the back of the field and slowed some people down. Yeah, it's just one of those things, as I said, sort of bumps and that are inevitable with these kind of cars. Because you're just so close. You've got somebody either on their inside or on your outside or literally right on your bumper the entire time. The cars at the front, when I was flipping through this replay just trying to find an angle to film, you could have filmed it from anywhere, as everybody had somebody racing with them or alongside them. And it certainly made it exciting. Also, another thing, another problem, if you like, I don't know what views people race with. If you're going to do this kind of racing, we come into the chaotic hairpin again, you really want to use third-person view. Normally, I would say bonnet view is the best view for racing, because like when you're following somebody very, very closely, you get a better idea where the front and corners of your car are. For this, you really need to be third-person, because you are permanently got cars either side of you, and it does help. On this occasion, to see when the car is either side of you, just the whole field is together within the same straight. First to last was probably covered by a couple of seconds, maybe a little bit more, but you don't get that with a 16 car lobby. I think it was 16 or 15 car lobby. You very rarely get it covered by that much. Now you saw I was pointing the wrong direction in the first corner to spin my car around, and within, I think it was 2 laps, I caught up to the back of the field. This is what I said about, you know, if you do have an accident, you catch up very quickly because everybody's battling and you get a track pretty much to yourself. And yeah, I got caught up straight onto the back of the field. However, making progress through the field was not easy. On sort of the opening couple of laps, there were a couple of cars that came from the back of the grid to the front of the pack, and then promptly couldn't get away. Once everybody got going, once they'd kind of learnt the track, it was very hard. It was very hard to make any headway through the field, because you would overtake somebody, maybe you'd move up a couple of places, and then you'd suddenly find yourself under attack again. It was, yeah, trying to make progress through the field once everybody had kind of settled into a rhythm was really very, very tricky. But the fact that I was battling over 15th place, I didn't really care, or 14th or 12th or wherever you were battling, it didn't really matter, because it was, yeah, it was really very, very good fun. Yeah, this race again was another phenomenally close race. I think somebody did actually escape away at the front briefly, and then everybody behind them stopped battling, and then they all chased him down. And yeah, you see this lead group of, I think it's 5 cars. Everybody ran wide, either through outbraking themselves or through little bumps into that first corner, which, yeah, that was an interesting line people were taking. Yeah, it was another really very, very exciting race. Really very good fun in cars that really aren't normally raced. In fact, I think somebody sent me a link. I watched these. They actually raced these cars in real life at Tsukuba. It looked great fun. I also loved how much the people were being thrown about in the cockpit of the cars. If I can find the link again, I'll put it in the description to see these vehicles really being raced. As you come around the final corner, there was to be a change for the lead again. There was many changes for the lead, and second place was going to be incredibly close between the blue and green Daihatsu. And it was another excellent race, highly enjoyable. I think I came 12th or something, and I don't care, because it was still excellent fun. For the final Daihatsu Midget Rally race, it's a little bit different, this one. Yes, this is on a road course, however, this is an incredibly hilly and occasionally bumpy road course. I picked this one just because it was a short version. This is the shortest version of, I think it's Matterhorn or something, is it called? Yeah, and I wondered how these would do. Didn't quite realise how big the hills were. They did struggle a little bit getting up that first hill, and then they plummet down the other side. Interestingly, I don't think anybody would have driven these cars on this track, and it was an experience for the first couple of laps flying down here. As you can see, a very, very nasty bump there on this section that will play a big part later on. Another interesting aspect of this course that we saw it a bit, but it's much more profound, on this route, is this momentum that you need with these cars, because they are so underpowered. And the big hill, you really need it. You had to get a good run out of the final corner. This is probably the most critical I've ever seen, getting the run out of the final corner correct, because the hill here is huge. The cars struggle getting up it, and if you have a poor final corner, you have a poor all the way up the hill. And yeah, that was pretty damn significant. The other thing that this course had that I hadn't seen before, sort of in the same way, is it liked to try and roll cars. Yes, it would be me that had the first major problem. I spun my car around thinking, oh yeah, I'll get going again before they get there, forgetting I was in a Daihatsu Midget. I do apologise to the guy who drove into the back of me. I put my foot down and there was just nothing. So yeah, I couldn't do quite what I had hoped to on this. I think there were a few less people on this. By the time we got to this bit, it was getting a bit late and a few people had to go. I think there was 12 or so cars racing. There wasn't quite the same permanent side-by-side with everybody else. There was another car having a slightly different problem, not quite rolling it at the bottom of the hill, but getting a big slide on, managing to just about recover it, but losing a couple of places in the process. Yeah, there wasn't quite as much sort of side-by-sideness in this race. There was still a lot of good racing. There's still plenty of overtaking, more than there is in a lot of racing that goes on games, but it wasn't quite the same level of mentalness. I think it was partly down to the course. It was a bit of an odd course, this one. It's also very, very short, and not a lot of places to actually overtake on this track, as most of it is flat out. You're flat out from the final corner all the way up the hill. You'll see here, this is what I mean about the momentum. The blue car got a poor final corner and has got swamped by two vehicles, and he's going to struggle the entire way up the hill, and yeah, it's going to get, there's another vehicle going past him as well. That final corner was absolutely critical if you wanted to get a decent lap time. And yeah, it was an interesting thing driving. These cars are really not built. They did not like the bumps and the elevation changes. They got thrown about. You'll see how much they're moving on the suspension. This is actually a very, very good overtake from the yellow car there to get up the inside. That's pretty terrifying going through there. It's one of those corners that's almost flat out. You want to take it flat out and you can't quite. It's sort of a tiny, tiny lift. Those final couple of corners. It's quite nice. It's a nice flowing circuit. It's actually very good fun driving these cars around here. But yeah, it was a bit of a challenge, but it was very, very good fun. The green Daihatsu was going to take the win. Somebody else had been leading for the entire race and then had a problem where I got on two wheels. The replay doesn't show it. I don't know if the replay lagged, but they had an odd incident and wouldn't be at all surprised if they went up on two wheels with like a lap to go. So yeah, there we go. That was some Daihatsu Midget rallying. It is equally good fun as the proper circuit racing. These cars just create excellent racing. You could race them anywhere and it would be entertaining. It might be very slow. I would not want to take these around the Nürburgring because it would take a year, but it would probably be the most fun I would have racing these, or racing anything at the Nürburgring with a full lobby of these, because you're just constantly racing. You're constantly in a battle. You're constantly gaining positions. So yeah, I highly, highly recommend you give these a go. You get some friends around and mess about with these. They are just simply superb fun. Anyway, that is it for this video, guys. So thank you very much for watching. There may well be some more silly Gran Turismo 6 races, since the Gran Turismo's got so many cars. We may well be doing some more slightly unusual but highly entertaining, I would hope, races in the future. So keep an eye out on the channel for information as to when I may be holding these. However, that is it for today. So thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.